If you are someone who is struggling to stick with your diet on the weekends, maybe you're a foodie, a weekend warrior, or maybe just a social butterfly. You have a lot of events and parties and things that you're going to. This is going to be a calorie hack for you. So let me open up my slides. So with me, I was overweight more of my life than not. I actually was always the overweight kid, the overweight friend, and no one else in my family really struggled with this. So I kind of felt alone, and I felt lost because I was always self-conscious about the way that I looked, and I just didn't know how to overcome that. Right. So the photo right here on the left is actually the first time that I ever successfully lost weight. And I essentially just starved myself, right? This was my senior year of high school, or going into senior year of high school. And I was doing P90X, and I was just eating nothing essentially. And that middle photo that you see right here is me freshman year of college. And then the next one is sophomore year of college. So as you can see, it only started to progressively get worse and worse and worse. And, at this time, I started using YouTube, and the internet was becoming more of an important part of my life. And I was seeing all of these influencers, right? And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be able to put myself out there. I wanted to have these physiques. I wanted to feel good about myself, right? And this has always been a lifelong goal of mine. I just didn't know how to figure it out. I didn't know what to do, right? So I came to a crossroads. Like I reached a point where I was looking in the mirror and I was disgusted at what I saw. It's kind of harsh, but that is literally the thought. That is literally how I felt about myself looking in the mirror. And at that moment, I made the decision to take action, and I was going to do whatever it took to make it happen. I was so done of wishing. I was so done with, wanting and never achieving it. So what that did was it kickstart my very long journey of trying to figure this out. And I was doing all the diets, I was taking the supplements, the pills. Like I said, I was doing everything and anything. And this was about a 6 month or a 6 year span of time trying to figure this out, right? Going on this weight loss roller coaster, the ups and downs. And the farthest photo to the left here is actually one of the biggest that I've got. I was probably 240, 250 at this time. And, after I initially lost that weight, I ended up just kind of hovering between this third photo and the last one, and just losing the same 20 to 40 pounds over and over and over again. I was in a very vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting. It was really just the restrict and binge mentality. No matter what I tried, right? It could be keto. It was flexible dieting. It was whatever. I just couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And the reason why I share this with you is because, what I realized is that you need to find a way of dieting and a way of, approaching nutrition, fitness, and health that works specifically for you. Not these influencers, not anyone that you're looking up to. It has to be right for you. That is the most important thing. And I stayed in this cycle of, yo-yo dieting for so long because I was looking at all of these influencers and seeing what they were doing. And the thing about social media is that it's not a full picture, right? Like, we don't see the day to day. We don't see what's actually going on, what they're doing to maintain their physique. And so I finally found something that worked for me at this time, that fit my schedule, that fit my life, that fit my preferences. And what I'm hoping is that this could work for you as well, right? And it's important to note that this is just one method. There are a ton of different ways to lose weight. So again, try it out, give it your best. But if it honestly doesn't vibe with you, if it's not right for you, always be open-minded to trying other things, right? So Today we are going to be talking about calorie cycling. And, it's essentially a way to cycle your calories throughout the week to account for special events, parties, or just eating more on weekends, right? And there's nothing really magical about what's going on here, right? There's no like metabolism hack. What we're doing is just rearranging your calories that fits your lifestyle the best, right? So what do I actually mean by that? This is what you will typically see when people are talking about losing weight or being in a calorie deficit. Is you will see a straight deficit, which is essentially just taking your calorie deficit number and eating that every single day, right? So a straight deficit Monday through Sunday, we would be eating 2,000 calories if that was the thing. And the weekly calories for the week comes out to 14,000, right? So if you took 2,000, multiplied that by 7, that is the weekly calories. But with calorie cycling, what's cool is that you can eat more on the weekends, or it doesn't even have to be the weekends. It could just be maybe you're having a few events or parties throughout the week. You can plan for that and still lose the same amount of weight, right? So this is how a calorie cycle, or an example of a calorie cycle, would be broken down. So maybe instead of eating 2,000 calories every single day, maybe you break that down into 1,800 calories a day, because during the weekday, people typically have an easier time sticking with things, right? In my situation, I was in classes, I was doing things. Right after my classes, I would just go to the gym. Like, it was a routine, right? So it was much easier for me to kind of stick through things that way compared to the weekends where I had a little bit more time. I was going out. Wasn't so routine, right? And as you can see right here, throughout the week, we're eating 1,800 instead of 2,000. But on Saturday and Sunday, we can eat 2,500 calories. So much more, right? We have a lot more flexibility in this case. But the beautiful thing about that is, if you see here, the weekly calories, they come out to exactly the same. It's the same thing as the straight deficit. We have 14,000 calories here and 14,000 calories here. You start to see kind of how this can become so powerful. So I'm going to break this down, make it bigger for you. All right, so this is the step by step. And again, watch this whole video through. But you always can come back to this section, take your notes, like pause this video, write it down, calculate it for yourself. And if you have any questions on anything, just leave it down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to help you out. And as you can see right here, I color coordinated the things for you to make it a little bit easier. When I'm referring to a number, you can kind of go back and say like, okay, this is where we calculated that. So each color will represent its pair. You're welcome. I was like, oh my gosh. I thought about this halfway through and I was like, you know what? That'd be really helpful if I color coordinated it. So that's where it is. And this is how we will set up our calorie cycle. Now I'm going to break down this more visually after this. So don't freak out. I'm personally not a really big numbers guy. I kind of just get lost when I see a whole bunch of numbers. So I broke it down a little bit more visually for you after this. But again, these are the step-by-step ways so that you can check that out. So number one is we are just calculating our weekly calorie total, right? How much calories are we eating throughout the week for the entire week? So right here, we are taking our example of 2,000 calories and multiplying that by 7, which we got 14,000 calories throughout the entire week. Now, step number 2 is determining our low calorie days, right? So all you're going to do there is subtract 200 to 300 calories from your daily goal. Now, I don't recommend you doing any more or any less than that. I think starting with a 2 to 300 number is great for you just starting out, right? So on this example, it would be 2,000 minus 200, and that would give us 1,800 calories a day, just like how we looked at that example previously. Now we are going to plan our low calorie days, right? So I want you to choose 4 to 6 days of the week that you want to eat lower calories. And I recommend starting with 5. I think that all of you guys actually should start there, see how you feel, because we don't want to drop our calories too much and just be super lethargic, not be able to train or perform throughout the week. So I would just start with 5 days right in the middle, and you would do 5 times 1,800, right? And that's going to give you a total. So next, we're going to calculate our weekly total calories for our lower days, right? So how many calories are we eating for all of these lower days? And all we're going to do is multiply our lower day calories by the number of days we just picked, right? So 5 in this case. So that would be 1,800 times 5, and that gives us 9,000 calories. We're almost there. We got 2 more steps, guys. I know we're going to jump into it more visually in the next slide. So number 5 is distribute the remaining calories, right? So you're going to take your total, what we calculated in step number 1, and then we're going to subtract our total for our low days. And that's going to give us our remaining calories for the week. And all we're going to do for however many days you have left throughout the week, we're just going to divide that by 2 in this case, right? We pick 2 days. So 5,000 calories divided by 2 is 2,500 calories per day on the higher days. I know. This is kind of, it can get a lot. But again, if you guys have any questions, drop it down in the comments. Rewatch this section, take your time, take your notes, and let's keep it pushing. So this is going to be a more visual breakdown of how this actually works out for you. As you can see, Monday through Friday, we're eating 1,800 calories. Again, no biggie, right? We're at work, we're at school, we're doing a whole bunch of things. We're a lot more regimented, right? And then on these other days, Saturday and Sundays, we have more flexibility. Maybe we're going out to brunch or partying, whatever it is. You just have a little bit more room and more flexibility. But again, it still comes out to the same, estimated 1 pound loss, because 500 calories per day times 7, 3,500, that's about a pound of loss per week. Now, let me move myself here. Boom. Okay. So on this slide at the bottom, or on the example at the bottom, this is another way of how you can approach this. Let me see if I can shift this to make it. Okay, there we go. So this is going to be an example of how you can do 1 day a week. And what that would look like is you do the same exact thing, but you're just having all your extra calories on 1 day, right? So Monday through Saturday, we're eating 1,800, and maybe you have a big party or a wedding or whatever it is on Sunday, and you're going to have a few drinks, and you're going to have some nachos when you have the drunchies and things. So just being proactive about all of this and really just allowing yourself that flexibility. Now, this is where things get dangerous, right? And this is why I don't recommend you subtracting more than 200 to 300 calories a day, is because we don't want to start to develop, bad eating behaviors or disordered eating behaviors. You don't want to squirrel away all of the calories and just have this big binge on 1 day. And so again, I think that taking a more moderate approach, maybe 5 days out of the week for most times, but when you do know you have a very special event coming up and you're like, I want to, have a few drinks and have the food and whatever, you could do that from time to time, right? And, as seasons change, you can always adjust this. Like whatever you calculate right in the beginning, you don't have to stick with that forever. If your life starts to change and you need to change up your cycle, your calorie cycle, so be it. That's a part of why it's so important to find what works for your lifestyle, right? Okay, so what are the pros and cons of calorie cycling? The pros are it's great for people who naturally eat more on the weekends, right? That's me. I'm usually on during the week, and then on the weekdays, we usually go out to have some pancakes or whatever, pizza, pasta. And another pro of this is it just allows you to customize your diet, eating for your lifestyle preferences and social life, right? So if you're someone, again, who has a lot of events or parties throughout the week, you can plan your higher calorie days for those days and still stay on track with your goals, right? Now, some of the cons is you do have to track your calories and your macros. But that's a skill that I think everyone should learn and should go through at least a short period of time. I don't expect you to track your calories and your macros for the rest of your life, but I do think it's really important to get a foundational education and knowledge of the food that you're actually intaking, right? Really seeing, okay, this is how many calories, or this is how 500 calories looks like. This is how 30 grams of protein looks like. It really just helps you eat more intuitively while staying and getting fit, right? Another con is kind of like what I talked about earlier, is that it could just cause some bad eating behaviors. And I don't want that for you, right? We don't want to start to develop these super big restrict and binge cycles. So take a more moderate approach, especially if you're just starting out, because that can kind of get carried away, or we can get carried away with that, which is something that I kind of had to go through myself. So I hope that you don't go through that as well. All right. So what is the key takeaway from all of this is that you need to take action. That's the number one most important thing, right? You can't let fear keep you stuck. You have to just take messy action. You have to just be okay with failing, right? And the thing about failing is that to be successful, you have to fail. The most successful people in this world stand on this high pile of failures, and the way to think about that is those are just lessons. The failures that you go through are the lessons. That's how you become so wise. That's how you have the knowledge that other people don't, is by going through these things and learning, right? So make that decision. Make that decision that you want to change and give it your best, right? You have the information now, and you also have to understand that you're going to mess up during this period. You're going to slip up. You're not going to get this right away. And that's okay. You're a human being. I'm a human being. I mess up. I messed up so many times, had so many years of failure. And, I don't want you to put that pressure on yourself to feel like, oh, I need to be perfect and I'm not going to mess up, because that just leads to all or nothing mindset, right? And that is very dangerous, and that's also something that kept me stuck in the cycle of yo-yo dieting for so long, right? So that's normal. Just keep going. And if you want to speed things up, and if you want and need help and support on this journey, I'm actually going to leave a link to my one-on-one coaching application down in the description. But even if you're not ready for that, you can also download a free copy of my quick start nutrition plan. That's going to give you what foods to include, how to make up your weight loss meals. And I also have some meal ideas, again, just to give you a little bit of light structure. And even if you can't implement this and you're still struggling, you can just reach out to me there. But regardless, these are both great options to get you started with all of this. And, if you need a way to figure out your calorie deficit, check out this next video, which is my simple weight loss calculator. And I hope this was helpful. And if it was, please consider subscribing. But I'll check you out in the next video.